My presentation is a little different today in that I'm giving it from a producer's perspective. You're not going to see a lot of science. It's mostly perception and my own opinion here. And I think that's one of the challenges when we talk about climate change in general is that the consumer, our customers, and those we deal with from a media standpoint have a different perspective and a different perception of the industry as we do. And I think one of the toughest things when we talk about sustainability or climate change from a producer perspective is the fact that we are inherently believers in the environmental movement, or we're believers in animal welfare. It's part of our ethos or our creed. It's how we live and breathe. And so we don't really understand when other people don't necessarily agree with us. But with that said, this picture here is there truly is people who believe that cows are evil, and even worse yet, that maybe cattlemen and producers are as well. It's not that they don't believe in who we are or trust in who we are as people, but they're not sure what we do from a day-to-day operation standpoint. And I think that's one of the greatest challenges from a producer perspective is to go out and tell our story in a way that connects with that consumer and helps to bridge that gap. One thing that I do when I talk about the climate change and the environmental movement and all that, I'm lumping it all now in under one big umbrella, and that's sustainability. And the reason that I'm doing that is that we're seeing both our people who are allied against our industry, or the activists against our industry, along with our main customers like Walmart, McDonald's, etc., all coming together under this umbrella along with the beef industry under what we call sustainability. And they call it a three-legged stool, or they talk about it, one, the environmental is one leg of the stool, then of course society or society issues, and the third being economic. And I think that's one of the key components when we talk about things from a producer perspective is that to be sustainable, we have to be profitable. And I think we're all excited about the prospect of doing a better job, utilizing our resources more efficiently, communicating with our customers in a more effective way about what we do on a day-to-day basis. But then along with that, we have to have a system in place that allows us to capture that, or at least to get paid for that, or offset the cost of anything that's new as well. I think one of the real big challenges as it relates to science or sustainability is what definition of science, and I almost call it the new science. It's hard for us as producers. We've always been science-oriented, factual-based. We believe in science and new technologies, and we have a pretty strong belief, and that's how we should deal with issues and make rational decisions based on them. But when we talk about sustainability, or when we talk about climate change, the definition of science has kind of changed over time. And I would say that this new science is more about consensus and belief systems than it is actual facts. That presents a challenge because we can't just come to them with scientific data and convince them otherwise. In the movie Inconvenient Truth that Al Gore says, he says it's not about science, it's not even about politics, it's more about morality or moral decisions. And we have to understand that that's how they're looking at this issue, is from a much broader based, more emotional based type of an appeal. I think climate change is one of those issues that most of us as producers are a little confused about, and we have some differences of opinion regarding what it really means and what it entails. Most of the producers I talk to believe in climate change from the standpoint they know that the weather's changing, they see cycles all the time. They understand that that's part of doing everyday business. I think though as producers we want to focus more on the future. What do we do about it? How do we manage the risk associated with these changes in welfare? And then of course I would say we're split pretty evenly down the road, or maybe even 70-30 on those who believe that whether or not the change is man-made or not. And finally, I guess just kind of wrap things up, I like this quote from Albert Einstein. He says, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." And I think the real challenge for us as producers, or from a producer perspective, is to utilize the newest technologies, have a science-based approach, but then convey that message in a manner that will connect with our consumer, our customers, and that we can actually build a case of how cattlemen and the cattle industry fit not only into a sustainable environment, but one where we utilize our resources more effectively and provide a better product.